Hello everyone, finally welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks since my last video, but a lot of stuff has been going on, but it's kind of why I'm making this video to show you what has been going on. So first things first, I finally graduated. I'm done with college, so we'll see what happens next. But as my graduation present, I went to England. So this is going to be showing you what I did in England. We went to London and Liverpool, and I'll show all the record finds in the next video. But this is just going to be kind of my experience in England. So I'll pop up pictures as we kind of go along my journey from the two cities that I went to. So flew out of Atlanta, kind of afternoonish, and it was about a little over 8 hour flight into London, and so I was kind of like that's kind of where you got your sleep. I think I slept a few hours or so, but we kind of got. I think we arrived in right around 7:40, 8 o'clock or so, and we kind of had a little layover time, a little extra time in London because we are going to take a train up into Liverpool. So we didn't really make it into Liverpool until about the early afternoon or so, about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and then we got settled into the Hard Day's Night hotel. That's where we ended up staying. So I got some pictures of me in the hotel and the room that I got in there. And of course, what do I do immediately when I get to a city? I look up record stores near me. I already kind of had some sort of feel of where to go to, thanks to some of the comments and some suggestions from some friends. So I ended up going to Dig Vinyl first, and they had a good bit of stuff, good bit of variety for albums in terms of the Beatles and solo Beatles stuff, but it was still pretty pricey over there, and like a lot of the original Beatles pressings, um, but they did have some pretty rare stuff. But again, kind of really priced like in the 300 to 350 pound kind of price range for like a mono yellow submarine, that kind of stuff. There was a John Lennon 12-inch single for charity. I think they only made 50 of it. It was a Happy Christmas. I might need to find a picture of that. They had one of those for only like 1,000 to 3,000 pounds, something along those lines. And then but I did end up getting some stuff. I got some 45s and a couple albums, I think. And then from there, we went to 81 uh, Crenshaw, I think that's what it's called. And unfortunately, all these places closed at like 6 or 6:30, pretty early on in the afternoon. So I didn't really spend like all the time that I wanted to in each one and really kind of you know search through some things. But it's just how it was. So most of the record stores in both Liverpool and London closed anywhere from 6 to 7 time frame. So it's kind of a scramble to get through that. But for the second record store, not too many Beatles albums there. It seemed to kind of get picked through, but I did find one I ended up getting. And then from there, we went to a local kind of restaurant, bistro place, and got some fish and chips. And then the Hard Day's Night Hotel is literally like right next to Matthew Street, where all the Beatles stuff is, Cavern Club, all that kind of stuff. So we just kind of walked down that road before call it a night for the first night. And then day two, this was kind of the Beatles tour trip. It was just going to be my family and the tour guide. This private tour of all the stops, kind of through Liverpool. But before that, we had some breakfast, kind of your standard English breakfast to you. And there's some cool pictures, some signed artworks kind of throughout the hotel. So I think we sat next to a Ringo artwork signed by Ringo and a John Lennon lyrics sheet, also signed by John Lennon. So that was kind of neat throughout the hotel, just kind of see. And then made it to the tour, got into kind of a taxi type um, situation there. And then I think we first went to Ringo's house, his first house when he grew up in. So went to Ringo's house. Again, the tour guide was kind of asking us some questions on the way over there to kind of get a feel for us in terms of like, is this kind of like a thing to do around Liverpool kind of family or kind of like serious? So obviously, I was answering the questions pretty well, and he was like, "All right, I can go into some detail here and give you a good tour." I think it was scheduled for about 3.5 hours, but it ended up taking 5 to 5.5 hours. So very detailed. Shout out our tour guide Peter. So he was great. And then on top of Ringo's, I think it was door. I think I guess the mason work guy. That was kind of when it was being refurbished or redone. Added some Beatles in letters into the brickwork up there. So that was pretty cool. And then a short little walk from Ringo's house, we went to the pub, which is now a barbershop of the building of a sentimental journey for Ringo, and it's got a huge mural on it. Looks really cool, and got to go into the barbershop just to kind of see the inside, and then I believe there was another house right next to that. I think it was Ringo's second house, kind of when he was a little bit older, and so that was right there. So that was kind of interesting. It a letter V on there, so kind of made us throw a peace sign up for a little family photo of symbolizing the V and of course Ringo's classic peace and love symbols there. So that was that leg of the tour, and we went on to Penny Lane next. There's me next to the sign that Paul McCartney did or Paul McCartney signed or autographed during his carpool karaoke. So now that's kind of covered in a kind of a plexiglass, and his signature is barely visible nowadays. But the original name for the sign I thought was pretty interesting. Um, the owner's last name was Penny, but it wasn't named for that. It was because the land back in the day was so like vast, kind of farmland, is that the only way you could get to the other side or the other city or something like that was you go all the way around the perimeter. But person, I guess we call him Mr. Penny, I guess you can say, had the idea to have a road right in the middle. You go faster, kind of a toll lane, and if you want to guess how much that cost to cross it, it'll be 1 penny. So that was a pretty cool story. And after that, we kind of went to a little Penny Lane kind of visitor center there for a break. Um, so they had some pretty cool things out and around the building. There was a pretty cool mural. I believe the original inspiration for Yellow Submarine. Um, there was a cool little mural of an octopus garden, and there's kind of like a mini Abbey Road set up there as well. So, of course, in a little gift shop, I got my own little Penny Lane street sign there. And then we went further down the road, which I don't think was technically Penny Lane anymore, since it was kind of another street. But we saw the barber shop that was there, and then the roundabout that was there. And apparently, in the roundabout, the building that I'm going to pop up and show was trying to meet a kind of Beatles themed restaurant, I think, back in kind of the 2020 COVID, but it never kind of got up and running because of COVID. So now it's just kind of an empty restaurant that I think was could have been the Sergeant Pepper Bistro, I believe that was going to be called. But cool place for maybe a record store. Just saying. Let's see. So after we drove around Penny Lane, looked all the at the song lyrics and all the buildings and stuff. I believe. Let's see. We went to John's house since I wasn't too far away. So that was pretty nice. to see. I believe we went to John's house. Is that John's house? Yeah. Could have went to Paul's house first. Not too sure. Anyway, I'll pop up the pictures. I think yeah. Okay, we went to Paul's house next. I had my Paul McCartney Got Back T-shirt on, so took off my sweatshirt for that one, so I could reveal the Paul McCartney. But unfortunately, Paul's house and John's house, you would have to take a separate National Trust tour to go inside the house, but couldn't really do that this time. So we just kind of looked around, I guess, the front properties of the two houses and just kind of talked about them. And the tour guide gave pretty much every detail that you wanted to know about that. So after Paul's house, then we went to John's house, which was pretty nice to see the little spot to where John and Paul wrote a lot of the early Beatles stuff. That was pretty cool. And then let's see, we went to a particular grave at a certain church after that. Um, as you can see, I think this was the coolest part of the tour, at least for me. I thought so. We went to kind of the church grounds to where the Quarrymen played, and then we kind of went around to see the tombstone of Eleanor Rigby and Rigby's grave, and so that was pretty neat to see. And so we saw the actual church, and then right across the street, if you walk down, there's the little kind of parish hall area for the church, and that's where John, I guess, asked Paul to become a member of the Quarrymen, and luckily we got to go inside. Apparently, that doesn't really happen too often. Whoever kind of oversees that little hall area um, doesn't really open too much for tourists, but fortunately we got to go inside. So there's a pretty classic painting depicting the scene, and I took a picture of the inside as well. So that was really cool, considering that don't really get to do that too often in these kind of type tours. So that was kind of my favorite part of the tour so far. We still got some stuff to go through next, and that would be Strawberry Fields. So went to Strawberry Fields. We went to the visitors center first, and kind of in the back of the visitor center, there's kind of a nice little green space and some landscaping, and that's also where the original gates are as well. So we got a picture of the original Strawberry Field gates, and it's also kind of a picture of what the building used to look like since that's now demolished. So there's a little picture of that where you can see, and I got a little Strawberry Fields gate pin. I thought I got a keychain that was red. I don't know. I don't remember, but I got that. And then I don't remember picking this up either, but there was a little patch, but I don't know. And then throughout the whole property, there's some John Lennon lyrics throughout the property. Like right by the gutter, it says when the rain comes. So took a picture of that because that's one of my favorite songs is Rain. And then we left kind of through the main kind of gate, the reproduction gate of Strawberry Fields that has like all the graffiti on the columns next to it, kind of the touristy kind of gate, I guess you can say. And while they were there, the Magical Mystery Tour bus like was there. So if you kind of look closely on the left side, I'm doing the Magical Mystery Tour walrus pose, I guess you can say. So the bus was kind of cool to see. Um, then the last stop was George Harrison's house. So got a picture of we got a pretty funny picture of me. I think I was just turning around. One of my parents were taking pictures, so I kind of threw up the thumbs up there. And then here's a picture of the tour guide and family there after the 5 hour plus long tour. So that was a pretty fun day, and still not done yet. I think that tour started around 11 o'clock or so. So I know there was a museum in Matthew Street. I think it's just called the Beatles Liverpool Museum, I think. And I think it was run by one of Pete Best's relatives, something along those lines. So really cool museum. It's about 3 stories tall. Each floor is kind of like you got the early Beatles, kind of like some not Hamburg, Cavern Club type stuff. And it was actually a really cool bass drum skin, kind of one of the first. Has the Beatles on it on the bass drum skin. So I thought that was pretty cool. A lot of memorabilia, a lot of pictures. Again, unfortunately, a lot of these things closed. I think this closed at like 4:30 or something like that. So I was kind of like rushing through to get all the to all the floors and stuff like that. So there was some record memorabilia as well, including one acetate of the Hollywood Bowl that they claimed that it was released in 1965 in United States, which is not true. So I thought that was kind of funny. So I took a picture of that. I was like, I don't think that's correct because that only came out in 1977. I know it was supposed to be an album, but it never happened. But anyway, here's a couple other pictures of some things in the museum. So I think it's really worth the look in there if you ever go find yourself on Matthew Street and it's open. Um, and then after that, I saw on another video that there's a kind of a little shopping arcade mall, and that was the original um, spot of the Cavern Club, as shown by this interesting statue of the Beatles playing there. Not the greatest statues in the world in terms of detail, but it kind of it gives you the idea. And then still more, we walked to another record store. I think this was called Dead Air Records, if I remember. Let's see if I can find it real quick. Yeah, Dead Air Records, and picked up a couple things there. Again, nothing too crazy. Had some like new stuff. Had a couple used stuff. Nothing too crazy. And then I went to another record store. Um, that was like 5 minutes away, and that was unfortunately all new records. Unfortunately, but this one had a mural because it was kind of like also kind of a bar type building. The record store was on the second floor, and it had a mural painted by John and Stuart Sutcliffe. So that was pretty cool to see at a kind of a local record store type place. And then the basement has like live music going on by some bands who ever want to go in there. So fortunately, didn't get to stay for the live because we had stuff to do, right. And then I think we got some more food. I think we got some pizza. I think, and then kind of towards the sunset, we went to the docks on the Mersey River and went to the Beatles statues. And then just kind of walking towards the river. So we got a couple pictures of that and a nice little sunset of the kind of the docks of Liverpool. Fortunately, the weather was great the whole entire trip. It was like 65, 70 degrees and sunny the whole time. So that worked out really well. And that was pretty much our main day in Liverpool. We only got to spend really like 1.5 days there. Uh, wish I could have explored a little bit more of the Cavern Club, and then we couldn't quite make it to the Cash Bar, which I kind of wanted to check out because that's kind of where early Beatles Quarrymen played, and I think some of the walls were painted by John and Paul as well. So maybe next time. But I squeezed in a lot of stuff that day, so we took another day two, took another train back to London, and again we kind of traveled kind of midday. So I went back to a couple stores in the morning in Liverpool for some records, which I'll kind of explain when I show some stuff, show the actual records in the next video, and then we kind of trained back to London, and again everything closed at like 6:30. So we got in hotel, unpacked, whatever. It was like 4:30, so I had to walk everything. It was kind of a weekend, so pretty everyone. It was really crowded there. A lot of people on the weekend there, and I think I went to like 3 record stores in the span of like 30 minutes. So I was kind of rushing through a lot of things. Mainly picked up 45s that day, I believe. And I'll explain all the record stores I went to in greater detail in the next video. But I think I got a lot of 45s, UK 45s that day. And the one thing I didn't really get used to is that a lot of these record stores had the actual records behind the counter, and this one store like photocopied front and back the cover. So it's just literally like paper cover, their description of it in a plastic sleeve, and it's just like it just wasn't the greatest record experience. I understand the stealing and the safety part of it, but it's just like it kind of makes me not want to be interested. If I was interested in a record, to buy it, because I have to like ask the person behind the counter, make sure it's actually the thing that I'm looking for. And again, it was still pretty expensive down there, which I kind of get touristy kind of area, but still like original pressings, they wanted like 100 to 150 pounds, um, which I wasn't really gonna pay for that for something I either already have or a slight variation that didn't really matter that much to me. So that was a little disappointing on the record store finds, and I wasn't able to go to any record shows because the days we kind of traveled from London to Liverpool, Liverpool to London, the record shows were kind of flipped. So like one show was in London when I was in Liverpool, another show was in Liverpool when I was in London, kind of thing. But what are you going to do? And I think let's see, the next day, the first day in London, which is kind of a free day. So we kind of went to go see just kind of the sights of London. So we went to Buckingham Palace, um, Westminster Abbey, saw Big Ben, crossed a couple bridges to see kind of all the sights, the Eye, the big Ferris wheel there, and so that was a pretty fun day. Pretty cool. They got a lot of cool cars out there. There was a lot of nice cars out there, and then one road drove by us. I think my dad took a picture of it. It was a really old Rolls Royce, so that was pretty nice. So a lot of fancy cars out there. And let's see. So that day, went to go get some lunch afterwards, and then we kind of went out to kind of a little bit of the suburbs of London, which was kind of nice. And I play disc golf a lot, so I played a round in England of disc golf. If there's any disc golfers, let me know in the comments there. So that was kind of just kind of a more low key kind of day, just kind of being a tourist, looking at sites, and just kind of doing some stuff that I kind of want to check off the bucket list, I guess you can say, of London. And then day two in London was kind of a bigger touristy kind of day going outside of London. We went to 3 kind of cities or stops and kind of like a bus tour. And first thing we went to was Windsor Castle, which was a pretty cool place. They didn't allow photos inside, so I didn't have any photos inside the building, but there was really cool, a lot of cool stuff in there in terms of kind of armor type stuff. I think it was kind of like the vestibule, a bunch of armors from different countries and things like that. A lot of paintings, all that kind of stuff. And a really to scale dollhouse that was interesting. I think we waited in line for that. I wasn't really too sure what it was, but that was very detailed and very big. And then the chapel where some historical figures were buried, like Henry VIII, and then most recently Queen Elizabeth were buried there. So we ended up walking around for an hour, kind of coming close to the bus, and kind of got there with a couple minutes to spare to where they were leaving for the next stop, which I'll put up a picture that kind of gives you a hint to the stones. So we went to Stonehenge. So kind of a nice inside joke for my family. We always Spinal Tap Stonehenge was always kind of a thing. So that was kind of a big moment for the family finding going to Stonehenge. So that was fun. Again, it's kind of weird. You go to a parking lot and then you're bussed over to the stones, and they didn't. There wasn't really too many buses, so we stood in line for about 15 to 20 minutes going to Stonehenge, and then another 15 to 20 minutes coming back, so we don't miss our bus. And we had about an hour and a half total to get to there and back from the bus. So there wasn't a whole lot of time. There was a little gift shop center kind of area that we just kind of had to blow by to get to our bus. Unfortunately, I think we ended up getting a little mini Stonehenge figurine kind of thing. But I kind of wish got to stay there a little bit longer. But yeah, it was pretty cool to see. And again, the weather was really good. And then the last stop for this trip was we went to the city of Bath, some Roman baths. We're in there, kind of historical kind of part there, and the architecture there was really cool. If you ever want to go to Bath, I would probably recommend staying there for a day just to kind of look around at everything. Um, at least that's kind of what the tour guide suggested as well. Um, Again, we only had about an hour there. I did try to look up some record stores there, but we needed food after the Roman baths. We were pretty hungry, so went to go see all the Roman baths, got some food, hopped back on the bus about a couple hours back to London. Went to go get some food, and that was kind of the long bus ride day. And that'll take us to, I believe, the last day, which is kind of going to be more Beatle-ly stuff, but London version. Um, so this is a kind of a rock and roll tour. So not all Beatles, but primarily Beatles related. And again, we took a bus around London. I think the first stop we went was Brian Epstein's house in London, kind of in a nicer part of London nowadays, to where I think some of the apartments, whatever living quarters are like, I think he said 3 to 10 million pounds each, or something crazy like that. And so we went to go see where Brian lived, just kind of outside, seeing outside of it. And then apparently there was a little pub right across or right around the corner. Apparently that's been open since like the late 1600s or something like that, something crazy. Because I think originally there was like some horse dens kind of thing across the street, but now they're like multi-million-dollar apartments and stuff. But there was always a bar there. It said like established like 1698 or something like that, something crazy. So that was pretty interesting. And then we drove good bit, maybe 10, 15 minutes or so. London traffic is also kind of crazy. But we went to go see the Royal Albert Hall, at least the outside of it. Didn't get to go inside. And then so that was cool. And then there was kind of some colleges, universities around the Royal Albert Hall, music related. And one of the colleges or universities was the one that Brian May went to, and there was like a little plaque where Queen's first show was as well. And so that was kind of the Royal Albert Hall area. Kind of got out of the bus, walked around, so that was kind of nice. And then kind of on our way, we actually stopped at kind of like a little local record store, memorabilia store on our way to kind of Abbey Road. So, but before we went to that, we went past Jimmy Page's house, and when the tour guide was talking about Jimmy Page, I was like, yeah, every once in a while we'll actually see him, like once every 6 months. And it was like, oh, look at him, he's at the front door right now. So we actually got to see Jimmy Page walk in his house. So that was pretty cool. So not bad timing wise there. And then so that was pretty cool. Everyone was kind of excited about that, but I was kind of excited for the record store place that we were going to. In a really small store, I got a picture of the name of it. Had some Beatles cardboard cutouts in the front, and had some records there. I think I ended up getting a 45 and an EP. I didn't see any original EPs or any EPs at all until this place, and then the next I think record store I went to also had two more EPs. So I kind of stacked up EPs late, I guess you can say. But it was a nice little store. Probably definitely kind of pick through. I'm sure they got a lot of tours that go through it. I think I heard one of the people saying like, "All right, this is the last bus of the day." So again, it is what it is. But um, the real highlight, I guess, of the day would be we got to go across Abbey Road, and there was definitely a lot of traffic going through that road. And I can tell some of the other locals not particularly too happy that they have to wait sometimes. There's definitely some horn honking there. Fortunately, when our family got to go out, since we had four in our family, had a video of us walking across the street, took a nice screenshot. No real cars or people around, and shout out to my brother Paul, who obviously had to take his shoes off and be Paul for the picture. So he got some street cred from the crowd there. So that was cool to see. And of course, he drove by Apple Studios. Again, didn't go inside. Didn't have time to go to the little shop that they had inside, unfortunately, either. But going on to the last stop, we went to 3 Savile Road, the place to a rooftop concert. So it's pretty high up there. I can definitely see. There's no way you'll be able to see anything when you're on the road there, but I mean, you can probably hear them for sure on the road. But I think the building is kind of abandoned. There's nothing kind of abandoned. There's nothing really too kind of pretty looking on the outside, unless in terms of like going into it, it's just kind of a little run down. So I wonder if they could do something with that building and maybe make it a little Apple boutique type place. That would be kind of interesting. I don't know what's in there now. I guess I could have asked, but so that was kind of our last thing that we did. Again, I think we went to another record store afterward, suggested by one of my friends, and again I got a couple EPs and some 45s there. So overall, good tours. The record stores were a little bit um, unfortunately, but I was kind of warned that some of the record stores around there aren't really the best in terms of original stuff, but that's okay. And the next day we got up and we flew back to Atlanta and into Birmingham afterwards. So um, trip overall success. You'll see all the stuff I got. Um, oh yeah, so I had to get a little road sign for Abbey Road as well. Um, Unfortunately, I did kind of get sick on the last 2 days, um, and I actually ended up getting tested positive for COVID. So that's why I didn't really get this video out. I was kind of recovering over the weekend, and I finally felt up for it here. I had to get all the pictures in, so I finally recorded this video. I know it's going to be a long one, but I wanted to go through everything that I did in London and in Liverpool and beyond, I guess you can say. And then that's why I'm splitting it up into 2 videos for all the records that I got. So overall experience, 2 thumbs up out of 2. And again, the weather couldn't have been any better. And I definitely would want to go back there again. Maybe not anytime soon, but since we got a better feel for it now, um, definitely kind of want to go to some places I didn't quite get to go or stay as long, and maybe actually hit a couple record shows this time, and maybe see what else England's got to offer. So that is my trip to England. I'll send it off the Union Jack gift bag, and I'll see you in the next video to show some of the records I got.